Hey people, this is Hassan and John, and it's a joy for us to come to you again. We dubbed this broadcast Wedlock
in lockdown.
And we're talking about the things that we are learning through our own experience of being under lockdown for close to 2 months now, and how we've been able to observe but also to be intentional with our marriage. And the next 4 days we decided to talk about 4 specific things that we are learning. Yesterday we covered communication. Today we're going to be talking about trust. Tomorrow we'll be talking about parenting. And then on the 4th day we'll be talking about intimacy, sex and intimacy. Before we talk about today's topic, yesterday as people watched, there are 2 questions that came up and regarding communication. Number one is that somebody was talking about people who apologize. And they say, you know, I'm really sorry, but I don't know if you have something to say, you know, I'm sorry, but, you know, any response you have for that?
Like we said yesterday, when you're apologizing, it has to really be genuine. When the but comes in, it kills every bit of the apology you're saying, because that but shows that actually you had a reason for what you did. But you know, when it's a genuine apology, say it as it is. I am sorry for doing this and this and this. Go all the way. When you bring in the but, you've killed everything. Yeah.
Because the but usually is a sign of being defensive and also the not being genuine in your apology. And oftentimes there are things that maybe that cause communication breakdown or conflict that are not necessarily your fault, where both of you have a part to play, but where you need to own up, just own up and don't deflect or don't blame the other person. But you know, I'm sorry, but you know, you provoked me to do.
Remember, you did this and this and this and this. You kill everything. So,
exactly.
Yes.
So genuinely apologizing. The second question somebody asked is to do with the mentor couples, and they were asking that. Who is an accountability couple, and what is their role in your marriage? A few years ago, must have been 5 years ago, Joan and I reached out to this couple that we've been observing. We see the way they parent, the way they live their life, and we really wanted to mirror and tether our marriage on their marriage, because they are very close friends. So we reached out to them and we asked them if they could mentor us. That means that we could come to them for guidance, for counsel, where we have a conflict or trouble in our marriage and we cannot solve it, just the 2 of us. We decided that this will be the couple that we shall reach out to work with. And I can tell you, it has been the most fulfilling journey of accountability for us as a couple. We know that we have people who are praying for us, who are for us, who are routing for us, and who are not afraid to call us out on the things, on the areas that we need to grow. And they share both the things that they are doing well, but also their struggles, which makes it authentic and makes us feel like, you know what, we are not looking up to them as Superman and Superwoman in this marriage thing, but they are authentic enough to share their struggles. So we encourage those that are married, look at an older couple, people who espouse the virtues and the values that you have. And you can, you know, reach out to them and have a monthly meeting, twice a month, meet with them, learn from them, because we all need to learn from someone else.
But also, you need to be able to trust these people. Really, it's not something that is easy for you to just choose someone you don't trust. You're not trusting their advice. You're not trusting what they're saying. You need to be able to have a relationship with them and trust the advice that they will give you. And that will really be helpful in your marriage. So, and this is when it leads us to our topic of today, which is trust.
Yes.
Trust. What is trust? What do you think trust is? What we've thought about trust is the ability to have security and safety with your partner. It's a choice you make to trust the other person. A choice you make, but also the other person has to be able to earn the trust that you're giving them. So you have to really be able to trust this person because they've shown that they are worthy of the trust that you're giving. So it's very important that you have some ground on trusting this person.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's something that you talked about yesterday as we were researching on this issue of trust. The issue of checking up on your spouse, everything that they're doing. I don't know if you can talk about it.
When you're checking up on your partner, it shows the nitty-gritty points of you check up on where they are, you check up on their phones, their password, what is happening, who are they talking to. It shows that there is a bit of mistrust. So trust, you have to be able to believe that your partner, wherever they are, what they're doing on their phone, whatever it's for the good, or it's helping. It's not just lack of faith, basically.
Sure.
So you have to have faith in your partner that whatever they're doing, they're doing it for both of you, or they're doing the right thing. So that's very important. Yes.
Yeah. But on the other hand, which is what we're going to talk about, sometimes people check up on their partners from a place of mistrust or distrust because their partners have broken trust before. So, for example, you have used your phone to nurture a relationship that is extramarital, or you hide your phone and things like that. And we're going to talk about that as we move along. One of the things that are important is to know what are the signs that there is good trust, that there is trust in a marriage, that there is healthy trust in a marriage. One of the things that are important and are a sign of good trust is that sense of commitment. When you are committed to the relationship and your spouse knows that you are committed to the relationship, is to say, we are in this journey. I'm committed to you and to you alone. I have no other commitments beyond this sacred relationship. And when that commitment is consistent in the things that we do, in the things that we say, in our behaviors, it builds trust, and it's a sign that there is trust in your marriage. Yeah. Any other thing? Any other sign of trust?
Okay. The other point that shows that there is trust is that you're safe. You're safe. You don't need to worry about what's going on with your partner or your spouse, because you're safe. You trust them. You trust them in that you're not scared that they're going to go out there and do something wrong, but you know that everything is okay. You believe what they say. You believe where they go. You know where they go. I don't have to worry when my husband goes somewhere and says, I'm coming back at 10. Because I trust my husband. So he has earned the trust, and I believe wherever he has gone, I trust what he's doing. And something else, the support for each other. When you support each other, I think you've earned the trust. You've supported your partner when they're in times of need. You've supported them when they're starting something. You've supported them when things fail.
Absolutely.
You've supported them when things are sought up. So that support kind of brings trust. It builds trust.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And the other thing that is a sign of trust is when you feel like there is no need to hide from each other.
Yeah.
To hide things from each other. Joanna and I know that we've made this commitment to be absolutely open and authentic with one another. There is nothing hidden in our relationship. She knows my phone passwords. She knows the passwords to my mobile money account. She knows she has access to everything that I could say that is mine. And it's because I have chosen not to hide anything from her. And when she sees that I'm open, one of the things I keep telling the people that I mentor, especially young men that are nurturing relationships, is one of the tests of trust in your marriage or in your relationship is if you can leave your phone with your spouse for an entire day. I have nothing to hide, absolutely nothing to hide. So I can leave my phone home. She can say, hey, let me use your phone, and I don't have to fidget around. Those are some of the clear signs that that she trusts me,
Yeah.
and she has no reason not to trust me.
One thing that we personally, my passwords, I actually use his password for my things, because sometimes I'll forget the password. So I tell him, I'll use your password. I'll use his password as my Momo password. Or my email password, I'll try to use the same password, because sometimes I forget, and it's easier when I ask him, so what's the password that you put? So it gets to be easy for us. So that's really helpful for me. Yes,
absolutely.
Maybe the other thing that shows that there's trust is being able to be vulnerable. The fact that you can come to your spouse and tell them something that you initially felt it was shameful, but when you tell them, you know that they will not take it out there and maybe sit down with maybe their boys or as the girls and talk about you, but they'll handle it and take it and help you on this journey to be able to get to a better place. That's something very, very important. The fact that I can be vulnerable to my husband, it shows that I've really, really trusted him. Yes.
And then finally, one of the things that are important for us to know as builders of trust is just a mutual honor and respect for one another. For you to say, you know, I honor my wife, I respect my wife, I will not dishonor her in front of people, you know, even if there are no people, just there's a mutual sense of respect and honor for one another, because you hold each other in high regard. You are each other's friends, best friends. You know, one of the things that are very, very important in a relationship and in building trust is in your spouse knowing, how do you represent me when you're out there? What do you talk about me? Do you talk ill of me? Do you share my weaknesses with people? That is dishonorable. And you're in a sacred relationship and in a sacred trust in this relationship. And it's important for you to know that honor and respect is a builder of trust, and we need to hold on to that, that truth. Now, the other thing that we're going to talk about is the things that break trust. And this is really where we felt we needed to come to you on this issue of trust, because we have friends who are married, or people that are within our circles who are married, where the issue of trust has been broken, and rebuilding it has sometimes failed, and many have ended up throwing in the towel. So what are some of those things that that break trust that we need to know?
When you talk about things that break trust, you know, the first thing that comes to your mind is infidelity. It comes in, and that's the first thing that you're like, oh my goodness, he cheated. But that's not the factor, or unfaithfulness. That may not be the only factor that breaks trust. There's something that we look at and might be so trivial. There might be small issues, but yet they're so big. They become big and really break the trust that you have built. Something like keeping promises. Time and time again, you've said you're going to do this, but you know your spouse, your partner, has chosen, I know what to expect. It will not come to pass.
They've promised a lot, and they've
promised
not
many
come
times,
through.
or she has promised many times, and they've not kept their promises. Keeping promises is very, very important in marriage. Yes.
The other thing that breaks trust is withholding and keeping things from each other. Withholding information, important information. For example, one of the things that are very, very big in marriages is issues to do with finances. If your spouse does not know how much you earn, or if your spouse does not know how you spend what you earn, and you keep that away from them, they're not going to trust you. They're absolutely not going to trust you. The other thing is, the other thing is that holding things from each other, like things as simple as the passwords to your phone. Let me tell you, friends, this thing called the mobile phone has been such a nuisance, forgive my French, in breaking marriages, because why would I, if I'm a trustworthy person, if I have nothing to hide, why would I keep my phone from my wife or my passwords from my wife? So those are little things, very important information, like, for example, if you help your family with some money, or if you're taking someone to school in your extended family, and you withhold that information, that is really a clear sign that you do not, that you're losing trust from your spouse, because they're like, you know, why would you hide such information from me? Very, very important, yet it's a breaker of trust.
Personally, as a couple, we've chosen that in financial responsibility, he makes the money, or even when I make the money, he knows how to distribute. So he distributes the money in the different things that we need to do. I spend the money. I will go buy groceries, I'll go buy food for the weeks, but he will never ask me, how much did you spend on the food? And then, how much did you buy this? Can you give me the list of the things that you bought? I need to calculate and see how much you spent. Because I know what we need in our pantry. I know what we need. I know what will take us through the month. I know how we'll use it. So he's given me the responsibility to handle the finances that way, and he trusts that whatever decision I make, it's for our own good. Yes.
Yeah. And the other thing that breaks trust is not being there for your spouse in their time of need. Now, marriage is a journey, and there are different seasons that come our way, and there are certain times where your spouse is in need of emotional support, comfort, a listening ear. Your inability to offer that when your spouse needs it can be something that causes trust to be eroded. Let me give you an example. The season where, for example, my wife has been through pregnancies, right? And those 9 months are very, very critical. They were critical the time that we were pregnant, for me to be there. Every doctor visit, you know, I was there. There is not a single visit that Joanne took to the doctor without me being there. No matter how busy I was, I dropped whatever was I needed to do, because this was important. It was a need. She needed my support. She needed me to be with her in this time of need. So when you are not there when you're needed by your spouse, that can be one of the things that can break trust.
I'll give you an example. When we had our twins in the theater, and they had to give the anesthesia on the back, and the one thing I told the person giving the anesthesia, I was like, you know what? If you called my husband to come into this room, you will find the spot where you're supposed to inject. Because with the fear I had, I know when he is there, I trust that his presence just gives me a calm moment. Yeah. So because our trust has gone to that level, it's really, really, really important that you get to a level where you trust your husband and you feel you're so secure. And that's what he's made me.
Mama. Anywho, two other things we want to talk about that are very, very important, and we wanted to bring these last as things that break trust in marriages: lying, deception, and manipulation. These things are such a stain on marriages, and they break trust almost immediately. When I find that my spouse has not been truthful to me regarding certain information, that means that they do not trust me. That means that they would rather I don't know what is going on, and that is something that is a trust breaker. So if there's deception, or there has been deception in your marriage, please work on that, because it's important, because it's a total deal breaker. Then the last thing, I'll let my wife introduce it, that is a breaker of trust,
and that's unfaithfulness and infidelity. That's such a tough thing that you get to handle when things go bad. I think my husband has a story about that can really help us to just get into it and dig it a bit and give us a clear way of how trust is broken.
Exactly. It's the story of Bob and Audrey, and this is a couple in the US, and I watched a documentary of them some time ago now. Bob was a pastor, very busy pastor running a big church, and his wife was a stay-at-home mom, and they you know, that's how they lived their life. She was a homemaker and did things at home. Now there's this young man that they brought into their home, and he used to come around to help in the home. He was an African American. These were white pastors. And because the husband was busy, he was distant, and the other thing is that they had tried for a child for so many years and there was no child. And these things had kind of brought an emotional toll on Audrey. And what happened was that, you know, every time this young man was in the home, she would, he would compliment her, you know, I like your hair, you're so beautiful and stuff. And before they knew it, you know, Audrey ended up sleeping with this young man. And it happened for 3 weeks. And obviously she became so disturbed by it, and she decided to go to her husband to apologize. And obviously, as you can imagine, it was a very, very tough thing to deal with. The other thing they realized is that the woman became pregnant by this young man. And ultimately their marriage was restored, and it's quite an amazing story because they have used this failure in their marriage to build so many marriages that have gone through infidelity. But it's that story. It was a build-up. She did not wake up in the morning and cheat on him, but it was a build-up of emotional distance from her husband. But of course, that's not an excuse to always be unfaithful. So infidelity, and we know there are so many couples, probably you're listening to us right now, and you've gone through a season, or you are in a season where your spouse has broken your trust by breaking the marital, the purity of the marital bed. And it's a tough place to be. And I hope that we can be able to address this issue as we talk about rebuilding trust in our marriage. So how do we rebuild trust in our marriage?
I think the first factor in rebuilding your marriage is rebuilding trust in your marriage is communicate. It's very important to sit down and talk about why you've been hurt by the betrayal that has happened, or how the trust has been broken. You communicate and speak into how you've been hurt, what exactly has hurt you, okay? What exactly has hurt you, and how you feel. I think it's good to communicate your feelings to your partner in the journey of rebuilding trust. If you hold back communication, then it shows that you're not yet there at the rebuilding the trust part. Yes, that's something very important.
Yeah, and in communicating and talking about why you have been hurt, we also need to appreciate the fact that rebuilding trust takes time.
Very, very important. Yeah.
It takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. Sometimes it takes years, especially if the thing that has caused trust to be broken in your marriage is something that is as dire as infidelity. You know. But the other thing that is important is apologize. Just apologize. It takes humility. When you've done something that has broken the trust of your spouse, go to them in humility and apologize. Say you are sorry. Do not excuse yourself. Don't say, you know, I was tempted, or just say, you know what? I wronged you. I failed you. I betrayed your trust. And I failed our marriage, and I am sorry. I am genuinely and deeply sorry. And be specific. Specific in the things that you have done to hurt the other person. And this is something that can begin to rebuild your marriage when you apologize genuinely. Yeah.
That's very, very important. And as you're apologizing, when you're specific in what you're saying, you as the betrayer, you have to have the ability to also forgive yourself. Because when you've gone through these issues, you've betrayed your partner, as you apologize and say, I'm sorry, you have to be able to forgive yourself, because if you don't forgive yourself, you'll kind of live in a guilt life, because you've done the wrong thing. Because you've done the wrong thing, you say, you know, maybe it was my fault. Maybe I'm the one who did this and this. So as you forgive the other person, try to forgive yourself too, knowing that, you know what, whatever happened, this has happened, we need to solve this issue and get it out of the way.
And you know what you share, honey, is very, very important regarding forgiving self, because oftentimes, for example, when somebody cheats on you, when your spouse cheats on you, it is very easy for you to blame yourself.
Very true.
Maybe I was emotionally distant, maybe, you know, I was no longer pleasing him, or, you know, and we get into self-guilt so many times. It's important that when somebody seeks your apology, number one is you forgive them. Let us genuinely forgive, because it is something that Christ has asked us to do. Forgive because your Heavenly Father has forgiven you. Because you've been forgiven much, you need to forgive much. But once that happens, you know, you need to also extend forgiveness towards yourself, and not, you know, continue wallowing in the things that have happened. And I know this takes time, especially depending on the gravity of what has broken the trust. The other thing about forgiveness is forgive and forego.
It's not that you forget what has happened. No. It's you get whatever happened, you've forgiven, but then you don't bring it up all the time. When you forgive, you take up the opportunity to start afresh, on the journey of trusting. But you do not, you know, it's not easy for you. I cannot say forgive and forget, because it happened.
Yeah, it did happen, and I can't forget it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then you have to forego. In that cases, find something different to focus on. Don't dwell on that past. Do not dwell on the past and live in that moment of oh, he hurt me, oh, she did this. Can you imagine? And then
2 years later,
3 years later, can you imagine? As you're trying to deal with an issue 2 years later or 3 years later, you go back to what happened. Because you think it's going to happen again. Yet this person has moved on and asked for forgiveness and gotten better, but because you're dwelling in the past, you get to still stay in that cycle. Yes.
The Bible says in I think 1 Corinthians 13, one of the qualities of love is that love keeps no record of wrong. And man, this is very difficult. It's not easy. If you're going through, for example, a relationship or a marriage that you've had to deal with issues of infidelity, it's very difficult to forego, to forget the past. And obviously we are not oblivious to the fact that there are some relationships where you've had to endure your spouse going through multiple affairs. You've had to endure your spouse not being repentant for their faults, you know. Those are extreme cases. We are talking about a case where your spouse comes and says, look, I wronged you. I did wrong to you. Please forgive me. And you begin restoring that marriage. It's important for you to say, you know what, I choose to forego. I choose to let go. And I choose not to bring this up. Even when you have something that you argue about in the future that might have a similarity to something that somebody did in the past. Dwell on what you're arguing about in the moment and do not dwell on the things that the other person did wrong in the past. That's how you rebuild marriages.
The other factor to consider when you're rebuilding trust is really find out why the betrayal happened. It's very, very important. Why was there lying? Why was there infidelity?
Yes.
Why was there manipulation? Why did all these things happen? That would be very, very helpful so that it doesn't happen again. Or give a person the opportunity to do whatever they've done again.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when you find out why something has happened, you're able to also course correct. If there are things that you need to work on that maybe pushed your spouse away, it's an opportunity for you to be able to course correct and put things right. So we're coming to the end of today's broadcast, and it was really, really a joy for us to share our thoughts with you, some of the things that we are learning even as we build trust in our own marriage, because it's a journey for us as well. I want to share a few scriptures with you. The Bible says in the book of Proverbs chapter 31 verse 11 and 12, and it was talking about this woman, the Proverbs 31 woman. It says that the heart of her husband trusts in her, and he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and no harm all the days of her life. That is complete trust in a marriage, where the heart of your spouse has complete trust in you, in your ways, in your words, and I have no reason to doubt your love. The other one is Song of Solomon, chapter 2, verse 15. It says, catch all the foxes, the little foxes, before they ruin the vineyard of love. And this one is in the context of marriage. The little foxes are the little habits, the little things that come in.
The lies.
Lying, hiding things. You know, they are little, but they compound, especially when they are undealt with. And then lastly, look to Jesus.
True.
Look to Jesus. He is the author
and finisher,
and also the sustainer of our marriage. We need to look to Jesus, because he alone has the blueprint of a healthy marriage. We cannot do marriage outside of him, because our marriage on earth reflects our marriage to him as a bride, the church, to him being our Lord and our bridegroom. And when you look to Jesus, both of you as a couple, he guides, he leads, and he guards us from everything, especially things that cause a lack of trust.
And just know that marriage sustains itself in and with Jesus.
Amen.
Let Jesus be the center in your marriage. That is a very, very huge factor. If you draw Christ out of your marriage, then the rifts start.
It's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. So let Christ be the center, and let Christ lead your marriage.
Amen.
God bless you.
Amen. Thank you for watching, and please send comments. What are your thoughts? If you have any questions for us, please share them in the comment section, and we'll be sure to read them and also give a response to them. Thank you so much. God bless you, and may you enjoy your wedlock
in lockdown.
In lockdown.